provided by Thomas Allgaier and Freenis, based on the most relevant posts on LinkedIn about account-based marketing in CW 24 and 25. Freenis is a B2B market research company working with enterprises to optimize their campaigns with research-grade account profiling and insights. You can find more info in the description. So, imagine for a second that you're walking onto the floor of a massive, incredibly noisy manufacturing plant.
Oh, I can picture it.
Right. And for the longest time, B2B marketing operated exactly like that factory. You just pour raw materials into the top of the funnel.
Massive ad budgets, endless cold calls.
Exactly. You crank the heavy machinery, and you just sort of expect a finished buyer to pop out on the conveyor belt at the very end.
Yeah, the prevailing logic was just entirely based on volume.
Right. Like if you wanted more revenue, you didn't, change the design of the product, you just shoveled more coal into the furnace.
And, I mean, the appeal of that model was always its mathematical simplicity, right? It was a linear equation that felt really safe to marketing executives.
Safe, yeah.
You could just easily point to the sheer volume of input and say, look, we send out 50,000 emails this week, and use that activity to justify your budget.
Regardless of the actual output.
Exactly. Regardless of output.
But, if you step into today's B2B buying environment, you quickly realize that the conveyor belt is just completely jammed.
Oh, totally.
Buyers are deliberately hiding from sales reps. Reply rates are plummeting, and that old school volume-based lead generation model is just flat out failing.
It really is.
Which is exactly what we are unpacking in our deep dive today. We're looking at the absolute top account-based marketing or ABM trends dominating the conversation right now across LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks on there.
It really has. Our mission today is to break down how the most successful revenue teams are ditching that factory model, pivoting hard toward razor-sharp account selection, and using AI not to just blast more emails, but to drive highly measurable revenue impact.
So to really understand this shift, we have to start at the absolute foundation.
Let's do it.
Before we even touch on the shiny new AI tools or, the hyper-personalized landing pages, we need to completely redefine what we mean when we say account-based marketing.
Because the industry is operating with a flawed definition right now.
Very flawed. Katrin Marquardt framed this brilliantly recently. She pointed out that ABM is simply no longer a marketing campaign.
Right.
You cannot just tell your team to, run an ABM play for Q3 and then turn it off when you hit your numbers. It's a comprehensive commercial growth model.
I think that distinction is critical. Because a campaign implies a start and an end date, driven mostly by the marketing department.
Exactly.
But a commercial growth model requires uniting marketing, sales, consulting, and delivery around one shared strategy. Mindy Anderson actually shared an insight that takes this a step further.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah, it completely reframes the problem most companies are trying to solve. She noted that most organizations do not actually have a lead generation problem. What they have is a severe focus problem.
That lack of focus is literally everywhere. You see teams simultaneously running Google ads, optimizing for SEO, doing aggressive outbound calling, posting constantly on social media.
Just chasing everything.
Right. They're chasing 10 completely disconnected channels, distributing their budget into these tiny fragments, and then acting surprised when their pipeline remains completely flat.
Yeah.
Momentum in B2B doesn't come from simply executing more activities. It comes from concentrating overwhelming force on the specific accounts that actually have the budget and the pain points to buy right now.
That idea of concentrating force, it fundamentally breaks the old metaphors we used to rely on. Like Jessica Fulis actually inspired a great way to look at this.
The gumball machine analogy.
Yes. The old demand generation model was essentially a gumball machine. You insert your quarter, turn the dial, and a lead drops out.
Right.
But if the gumball machine is broken, we have to look at modern ABM more like a symphony orchestra.
I love that.
Marketing might be writing the sheet music and setting the tempo, but your chief revenue officer, your sales team, your executives, they all have to play their specific instruments in perfect harmony to actually win over a target account.
But here's the catch with that. If you are operating an orchestra, you absolutely cannot measure your success using the metrics of a gumball machine.
Oh, that's such a good point.
This friction point is exactly why so many initial ABM pilots crash and burn within, first 6 months. Nancy Carlisle Harlan and Alprakash Karupanan both zeroed in on this specific disconnect.
Because leadership expects the old numbers.
Exactly. Imagine you walk into your next quarterly business review. You are running a highly targeted, relationship-driven ABM program, but your leadership team is evaluating you on a standard lead gen scorecard.
Right. They're looking at the vanity dashboard. They want to see the number of MQLs, which, is just a fancy term for someone who downloaded a white paper.
Yeah, meaningless.
They are asking for your cost per lead. And if you bring a cost per lead slide to a CFO to justify a long-term commercial growth model, you've already lost the room.
You're speaking the completely wrong language. You need to replace that vanity dashboard with an ABM revenue scorecard.
Which tracks what, exactly?
Well, if the goal is concentrating force, the metrics have to reflect the impact of that force. So you need to track deal velocity. Are the accounts we target moving from initial meeting to signed contract in 45 days instead of 90?
That makes sense.
You need to track win rates. Are we closing 30% of our proposals instead of 10%? Average deal size. If you evaluate a highly focused relationship-building motion using mass blast email metrics, the ABM program is going to look like a failure every single time.
But, a revenue scorecard is completely useless if you're tracking the wrong people.
Oh, 100%.
If you're going to measure your success by win rates and velocity instead of raw volume, your margin for error in picking targets drops to near zero. You cannot aim a sniper rifle at 5,000 different targets.
Oh, you can't.
I was actually reading Ryan Carlin's take on this, and he did not mince words. He stated that running so-called ABM on a list of 5,000 accounts isn't actually account-based marketing.
It's just spray and pray.
Exactly. It's just spray and pray lead generation wearing a more expensive suit.
And the financial cost of getting that selection process wrong is just staggering. Nick Bennett shared a real-world turnaround story that illustrates this perfectly.
Oh, the 500 accounts one?
Yes. He was brought into an ABM program that was bleeding money. They had spent $40,000 on a list of 500 target accounts. And the way they picked those accounts was essentially a guessing game.
Just using firmographics, right?
Right, basic firmographic filters. They only looked at industry, employee headcount, annual revenue. They ignored intent signals entirely. They didn't look at whether those companies were actually in the market to buy.
So what happened?
6 months later, that massive 500 account list, backed by 40 grand, had produced exactly 3 opportunities.
Just 3 opportunities from 500 accounts after 6 months of effort. That is the definition of a jammed conveyor belt. I imagine fixing that required a terrifying pivot for the sales team. You're basically asking them to throw away 90% of their target list.
It requires a massive leap of faith. But they did it. They took that list of 500 and ruthlessly cut it down to just 30 accounts.
Wow, only 30.
Only 30. But the crucial difference was that every single one of those 30 accounts was signal qualified.
Meaning they were actually doing something.
Exactly. They weren't just big companies. They were demonstrating actual buying behavior. Multiple executives visiting the pricing page or actively engaging with content on LinkedIn.
So they actually had a reason to reach out.
Right. And once they narrowed the focus, they completely stopped running generic webinar ads. They replaced the broad marketing with hyper-personal outreach.
Let's break down the mechanics of that outreach, because personalization is a buzzword that gets thrown around so much. What did they actually do differently?
Well, instead of a templated email sequence, the account executive would record a custom video directly addressing a specific initiative they knew that prospect was working on.
Okay, that's real effort.
Yeah. They stopped sending generic white papers and started sharing highly specific case studies featuring real financial outcomes from the prospect's exact vertical.
Wow.
And instead of blasting an invitation to a massive online webinar, they invited the prospect to a small, intimate dinner with 8 peers in their industry.
And the results?
By changing the focus from volume to high-touch relevance, the results completely flipped. Out of those 30 focused accounts, 11 of them moved into the active sales pipeline in a single quarter.
Let's just pause on that math for a second. 11 active deals out of a 30-account list in 3 months compared to just 3 deals out of 500 accounts over 6 months.
It's night and day.
It proves unequivocally that the methodology works. But here is where the execution usually falls apart for teams trying to replicate this.
The operational side.
Right. We keep talking about narrowing the list down to 30 accounts, but an account is just a legal entity. It's a logo on a corporate headquarters. You can't invite a building to a steak dinner.
No, you can't.
So who exactly are we targeting inside those 30 accounts?
That realization is the missing link in almost every failing ABM program. Mason Cosby and Thorstein Nordby both provided incredible deep dives into this concept, which is known as the buying committee.
Because accounts don't sign contracts.
Human beings sign contracts.
Yeah.
Behind every complex B2B technology purchase, there's an entire committee of people, sometimes ranging from 10 to 15 different individuals who all have a say in whether the deal goes through.
Wow, 15 people.
Yeah. And if your marketing strategy stops at the account level, your sales team is flying completely blind when they actually get into the room.
Right, because you can't just send a generic improve your team's ROI message to a chief information security officer, someone whose literal job is spotting digital threats, and expect them to care about the same things as the marketing director.
Exactly. You have to map out those individuals systematically.
Yeah.
You need to identify your champion, the person inside the company who loves your product.
Right.
You have to find the decision maker. You need to identify the budget holder, the end user, the legal team, and crucially, the blocker.
The blocker.
Yeah, the person whose job might be threatened by your software and will actively oppose the purchase. You have to know who they are.
How do you actually keep track of all those moving parts without losing your mind?
Well, Thorstein Nordby detailed exactly how to operationalize this inside CRM platforms like HubSpot. You don't just dump 15 contacts under one company name.
You tag them.
You look at their specific job titles and tag them into these distinct buying roles. The CEO gets tagged as the decision maker. The operations manager is the champion.
And you just have to monitor that constantly.
Constantly, because 2/3 of these people might change their internal priorities or even change jobs mid-process. You need to engineer a messaging strategy where the CFO gets content about cost reduction while the end user gets content about ease of use.
Okay, let's look at the sheer logistics of this for a second. This brings us to a massive operational bottleneck.
Oh, absolutely.
If your SDRs, the reps, tasked with doing all that initial cold outreach, have to manually map a 13-person committee for 100 different accounts, research every single person's pain points, write custom videos, they are going to completely burn out.
They will quit.
The human limit is reached very quickly. So how do revenue teams actually scale this level of bespoke research?
That operational friction is the exact catalyst driving the next major evolution in the space, which is AI-enabled ABM. But, and this is important, we have to be incredibly careful about how we define the role of AI here.
How so?
Ingrid Archer laid out a fantastic rule of thumb. She stated that AI does not replace strategic decision-making, and it absolutely does not build trust with a buyer.
It doesn't build trust, right?
What AI actually does is accelerate the account selection and the deep research phase at a scale that was physically impossible a year ago. AI is the accelerator. It is not the strategy itself.
I love that distinction. It's the engine, not the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So how are the elite teams actually building this engine? Give me the mechanics.
The architecture they're building is mind-blowing. Nicholas Solzhenitsyn shared a framework where he deploys 24 distinct AI agents across 7 different stages of the ABM motion.
Wait, 24 different agents operating simultaneously?
Yes.
What are they actually doing?
They're entirely replacing the unglamorous manual backend work. Think about the workflow of an SDR. Instead of a human spending 4 hours scraping the web, one AI agent is programmed exclusively to monitor SEC 10K financial filings to find companies announcing new budget initiatives.
No.
Another agent sits on LinkedIn specifically tracking when a decision maker changes jobs. Another agent parses intent data from your website.
So it's just watching everything.
Right. And once a signal fires, a completely different agent cross-references that data and drafts personalized email openers tailored specifically to that buyer's persona.
Mindy Johnson actually provided another incredible example of how to compress this workflow, and it really highlights the mechanics of how these tools integrate.
With the Claude GoWork skills.
Yes, she uses these Claude GoWork skills to essentially automate the most tedious parts of account research. She built a customized skill where she literally just drops a target company's name into a prompt.
And the speed at which she executes this is staggering.
It is.
Okay.
Because behind the scenes, that AI isn't just hallucinating an answer, it's using API connections to pull live, real-time data simultaneously from her company's Salesforce instance, from internal Slack channels, and from the live web.
In under 2 minutes.
Right. In under 2 minutes, it synthesizes all that data and generates a comprehensive research brief. It confirms the target company's exact tech stack, identifies key finance contacts, lists recent buying signals.
And she didn't stop there.
No, she didn't.
She built a second sequence that takes all that synthesized research and autonomously outputs a complete 3-touch email draft a briefing document to prep the AE for the call, and even a recommendation for a corporate gift.
A corporate gift?
Yeah, a research process that used to require an SDR to keep 15 different browser tabs open for 3 hours. Now it takes about 3 minutes.
Okay, I have to step in and push back hard here. Because on paper, generating 3-touch email sequences in 3 minutes sounds like an absolute dream.
Yes, sir, it does.
But Steve Armenti brought up a massive red flag in his post, and it's a reality we all experience every time we open our own inboxes. Buyers are absolutely sick of what he calls AI slop.
Oh, the slop is real.
The data shows that reply rates on cold emails have been cut in half since 2023. Nearly 95% of all cold emails are completely ignored.
Wow.
If a chief information security officer receives a slightly robotic, overly enthusiastic 7-step automated sequence that clearly feels like it was written by a machine, they're going to suddenly sign an enterprise deal. They're going to permanently block your company's domain.
And that pushback is entirely justified. When companies treat AI simply as a cheap way to resurrect the broken factory model, using it to blast 50,000 bad emails instead of 5,000, they destroy their brand equity.
Exactly.
The crucial distinction in a high-performing ABM program is that the AI lives strictly behind the scenes.
Meaning the AI never actually hits the send button unchecked. It never speaks directly to the buyer.
Never. The top go-to-market teams use AI exclusively to do the heavy lifting of the research phase. Gathering the market intelligence, monitoring the intent signals, creating the very first rough draft.
It takes an ocean of digital noise and synthesizes it.
Right. But the human judgment, the final review of the messaging for empathy and tone, and the actual relationship building, that must remain entirely human.
That's reassuring.
Victoria Olivaria articulated this perfectly. The AI pipeline doesn't replace human judgment. It simply removes all the tedious manual copy-pasting that used to sit between raw data and a reviewable draft. The AI serves the human, not the other way around.
That makes perfect sense. You use the machine to survey the landscape and build the map, but the human still has to drive the car.
Beautiful way to put it.
So if the AI is handling all that deep back-end research, what does this modern execution actually look like when it finally reaches the buyer's screen?
It looks like true one-to-one personalization delivered at an unprecedented scale. Kevin Lai at Optimizely and Sammy Barbier highlighted how forward-thinking brands are moving way beyond the basic trick of just swapping out a first name in an email.
What are they doing instead?
They are now using AI agents to instantly generate bespoke, account-specific landing pages.
Wait, a completely unique, fully functioning website built exclusively for one specific target account?
Yes.
How does that actually work mechanically?
It relies on incredible background integration.
Yeah.
Let's say a prospect clicks a link in an ad on LinkedIn. Through IP matching, the system instantly identifies exactly which company that prospect works for. In the split second before the web page loads, an AI agent fetches their specific commercial reality directly from your CRM. It identifies their industry, recognizes where they are in the buying cycle.
So it knows what they care about right now.
Exactly. It pulls in highly relevant customer case studies that match their exact vertical. It runs a custom ROI calculation based on their estimated company size, and it builds this entire personalized page autonomously, perfectly matching your brand voice before the screen even finishes loading.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. You are essentially taking the bespoke white glove experience of enterprise field marketing and digitizing the entire process.
It's incredible.
But does that level of technical plumbing actually translate to revenue, or is it just a really expensive parlor trick?
The revenue impact is undeniable. Sammy Barbier reported that when they deployed these one-to-one landing pages, their reply rates jumped consistently above 50%.
50%? That's huge.
He refers to this evolution as person-based marketing. It delivers real relevance created at scale because the underlying data models are finally sophisticated enough to turn deep context into high-quality buying experiences.
But if you take that logic a step further, there's still a massive hurdle here. A 50% reply rate on a customized landing page is incredible, but that page still has to be delivered to the prospect somehow.
Right, you have to get them there.
How do you warm these accounts up before they ever get that customized link? Because if I have never heard of your company, I am not clicking your link, no matter how magically personalized the page on the other side might be.
That is exactly where modern channel strategy comes into play, particularly how teams are utilizing LinkedIn. Ivan Falco and Iva Volosinski broke down how the best organizations are abandoning random broadcasting.
What do you mean by random broadcasting?
Like, you don't just post an article on your corporate company page and blindly hope your buyers scroll past it. First, you build that strict target account list we talked about earlier, and then you map your own internal team's expertise directly to the prospect's buying committee.
So you are orchestrating the entire team to be visible, not just relying on the marketing department to run ads.
Precisely. You have your subject matter experts, your lead engineers or product managers, posting detailed technical content that speaks directly to the technical evaluators on the buying committee.
Smart.
You have your CEO sharing high-level market insights that build immediate credibility with the prospect's C-suite. And then marketing steps in and puts budget behind those specific organic posts. They boost them as thought leader ads, directing them exclusively at the IP addresses of the target account list.
I see how the whole ecosystem connects now. You are essentially surrounding the buying committee with familiar, trusted faces over a period of weeks or months. By the time your SDR finally reaches out or sends over that bespoke AI-generated landing page, your company isn't a stranger anymore.
Alex Newman summarized this dynamic perfectly. Familiar wins over cold every single time. You aren't just trying to capture existing demand with a net. You are deliberately engineering familiarity and trust over time.
Imagine you take all of these insights back to your team tomorrow. We have covered a massive amount of ground today in this deep dive, but the through line connecting all of this is incredibly clear.
Very clear.
First, you have to completely stop treating ABM like a traditional volume-based lead gen campaign. It is a commercial, revenue-focused operating system. Second, you have to ruthlessly cut your bloated account lists down to only the companies showing real intent signals and deeply map the specific human beings on their buying committee.
The people, not the logos.
Exactly. Third, you deploy AI not to blast more spam, but to do the heavy lifting of research and data synthesis behind the scenes. And finally, you execute with true one-to-one personalization, surrounding those key buyers with relevant, trusted voices long before you ever ask them for a meeting. If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel and partner marketing, AI and B2B, MarTech, go-to-market, and social selling.
Before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've talked extensively about how AI is rapidly raising the baseline for every marketing team. It is democratizing deep account research and enabling instant hyper-personalization at scale. But if that is true, what happens when every single competitor in your space is running the exact same flawless, hyper-personalized, AI-accelerated playbook? In a world where perfect digital execution becomes the absolute minimum standard, how will you engineer genuine human trust?
It really makes you wonder, if everyone finally fixes their gumball machine so it dispenses the absolute perfect customized candy every single time, maybe the real differentiator will just be the human being standing next to the machine, willing to look you in the eye and have a real conversation. Keep diving deep, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.